Hi, and welcome to VIPER Emergency Medical Restraints. Today we're going to be discussing the different aspects of the VIPER Emergency Medical Restraint, including how to prepare, deploy, store, and correct issues that you may encounter. Please be sure to watch this video in its entirety, as it's important to understand all aspects of the VIPER. The views and opinions expressed within this video are that of VIPER Emergency Medical Restraints alone. Safety considerations are paramount for both patient and provider safety. This film is meant for educational purposes only and should not supersede good clinical judgment or practice. VIPER Emergency Medical Restraint is only to be used by trained providers under the direction of medical control and local laws and policies. First, we're going to begin with preparing the VIPER Emergency Medical Restraint for right-handed providers. Now, whether this is in a belt holder or secured off the body, preparation is the same. Simply remove the device and place it in your dominant hand with the universal stretcher clip facing away. Now, note how my fingers grip the device, leaving my other fingers free to grip the restraint and gather it up like so. Gripping with the remaining fingers of the hand, note that my thumb is over the cam with my other two fingers beneath the padding. With the restraint unfurled away from my body, I will now perform a visual inspection of the device to ensure that it's free of any defects that may inhibit its proper function, such as a twisted strap. Next, we're going to determine if we'll be placing the restraint on the patient's left or right side. You should note that proper application does require you to physically be on that selected side of the patient, and you should never reach or lean across the patient for your own safety. When applied to the patient's left side, I'm going to reach my non-dominant hand through the loop created by the device. I then grasp the selected limb and slip the VIPER over the arm. Place my hand on top of the padded portion of the restraint, leaving my palm and fingers flat with my thumb just underneath the adjustable portion of the device. The strap should be running between the thumb and the webbing, like so. Now I can use counter traction with my non-dominant hand to pull at a controlled and steady rate with my dominant hand until the slack has been taken out from the loop. Then I will clip the device onto the designated anchor point on the stretcher or other extrication device. After the clip has been anchored, I will simply let it go. This allows for my hand to slide up onto the adjustment loop of the device. Note that I have not removed my non-dominant hand from the limb that I am restraining. Now I will pull counter traction while guiding the limb with my non-dominant hand still on the device to a position of limited mobility. So that was right hand dominant application with the left-sided restraint. Now we're going to cover right hand dominant application with right-sided restraint. Now, as most American ambulances will have the provider seated on the patient's left side, don't forget that you must be physically present on the side of restraint. To demonstrate, we've rotated our set. Prepare and grip the device as previously shown. Now, as I'm going to be restraining the right side of the patient, the key difference here is that I am not going to be reaching my hand through the loop. Instead, I'll simply grasp the patient's arm, slide the device over the limb, place my hand over the top of the device as before, the webbing through my thumb and finger, and apply a steady traction. I will then attach to the designated location and apply counter traction while guiding the arm into a position of limited mobility. If at some point you find that the device is too loose, as before, place one hand over the restraint and pull slack with your opposite hand. If the device is too tight, just place one finger and depress the cam lever once to allow for more slack. Reassess the pulse, the motor skills, and sensation after any adjustments. It may be confusing to remember if you should place your hand through the device loop or not. Before deployment of the VIPER Emergency Medical Restraint, note that if the side you are going to restrain is the opposite of your dominant hand, go through the loop. If it is the same side as your dominant hand, you don't. After reviewing the deployment videos, we'll next cover the aspects of restraining a patient to either a stair chair or stretcher. Please note that we do not have access to all types of extrication devices for demonstration, so please ensure that you review your manufacturer's documentation and all included documentation with your VIPER Emergency Medical Restraint.
It is important to always designate beforehand which areas of the stretcher or similar device are safe and secure anchor points for the VIPER emergency medical restraint. Ensure that wherever you attach the clip, it is free to rotate without causing binding. Binding can cause stress on parts of the device, potentially damaging it or causing it to fail. Never attach the clip to any portion of the stretcher that can move independent of the patient, as this can cause serious injury or death. If appropriate, use opposing muscle groups and assess for proper pulse, motor, and sensory function to ensure you are not causing harm to the patient. When restraining to the lower portion of the stretcher, make sure that the clip is able to freely rotate without binding, as this can cause damage to the device or harm to the patient. When restraining to a stair chair, follow the same principles listed before. Ensure that the clip cannot become bound and is able to rotate freely. On this stair chair, we can restrain with the hands crossed over in the lap, clipping the VIPER emergency medical restraints to the rigid lower bar.
In this next portion of the video, we'll be going over folding the VIPER emergency medical restraint for storage and rapid deployment. First, we'll inspect the VIPER for any damage that may have occurred during its use. If free of any defects, we'll loosen the device so that the adjustment loop sits against the adjustment buckle, like so. Then we'll loosen the cam of the device so that there is slack enough for there to be roughly 5 inches of webbing between the device and universal stretcher clip. Then allow the device to hang freely. Pinch the webbing together and fold back under, pinching the restraint in half. We'll then bring the webbing around and the universal buckle into one flat . Now, if the device has been used incorrectly or removed incorrectly, a twist in the webbing can occur. Now, it is imperative to remove this as soon and as safely as possible, as a VIPER emergency medical restraint has not been tested or evaluated with the twist in the webbing. This can cause it to fail or cause harm to the patient. To correct this, please follow these steps. First, grip the device as shown, and with the help of a partner if necessary, bring the twist up to the cam. Depress the cam and pull counter traction with the adjustment side of the webbing to slowly draw the twist back through the cam until it comes through. You are now ready to store your device.
This has been an educational series of VIPER emergency medical restraints. We hope that you enjoyed learning how to prepare, deploy, and store the device, and how to correct issues you may encounter. Please be sure to bookmark this video for future use, as it's important to understand all aspects of the VIPER emergency medical restraint. The views and opinions expressed in this video are of VIPER emergency medical restraints alone. Safety considerations are paramount to both provider and patient safety. Finally, this film is meant for educational purposes only and should not supersede good clinical judgment. VIPER emergency medical restraints are only to be used by trained providers on the direction of medical control and under local laws and policies.